Across the country, we are seeing progressive policies doing more harm than good, putting dangerous criminals back on U.S. streets. We start in Colorado, where a trans sex offender will avoid prison time after allegedly trying to kidnap a child from a schoolyard. That's the person right there that you're looking at. And that is because of a controversial law that says the case has to be dismissed if the suspect is found incompetent and, quote, non-restorable. According to local reports, that person had been in and out of jail for more than a decade, and the entire frightening incident was caught on camera. Look at these kids here. You are watching them running away, screaming for help, as that suspect allegedly tried to grab one child, who you can see there was able to slip away, thank God. And wait for it. This is the fourth time that prosecutors have dropped felony charges against him due to those, quote, competency issues. Meanwhile, there's outrage in Kentucky after a convict was released from prison 13 years early under something called shock probation. That person is accused of abducting a mother and her two young sons from their home at knife point so they could help him rob a bank in Louisville. He allegedly used the mom as bait, threatening to kill her in front of her child if the teller didn't give him $20,000. He then fled, but was found and arrested 6 hours later. Judge Jessica Green granted the suspect shock probation, that's her on the screen there, releasing him on 5 years of probation under supervision. The father of the victims spoke to Fox and Friends this morning, saying that shock probation should never have been an option.
You know, it's squarely on you. It's squarely on you. You allowed this to happen. This is something that was not a surprise to anyone. Myself, once I finally found out who it was, and obviously it came out in the news. I mean, no one's surprised if it's a pattern. This is something that's stemming back, nearly a decade. This guy is robbing people. He's robbing businesses, and you stamped this. You stamped this for him to be rehabilitated based on what? Based on what?
So when he was saying, Bill, when he was saying this is on you, he was talking about the judge, that it was on her. And people are also drawing attention to legislation to those that voted against a bill that would require these violent offenders to serve at least 85% of that sentence before they were released. So preventing something like this from happening.
Yeah, sounds reasonable, right? 85%, especially if you're convicted of what you just described there. With regard to Colorado, this is what I found. The prosecutor says this accused sex offender could be back on the street.
Yep.
I don't know how that. Do you want to be in that community? Do you want to live there? The attorney for the sex offender said, "We recognize there's a broken system in the state of Colorado.
Yeah.
Fix it." With regard to Louisville, I was just looking at the law there. They don't have no cash bail, but they're moving toward it. I'm not saying they're going to get there, but there's a tendency toward that. I think with regard to like what we've experienced here in New York, no cash bail laws they're a real problem. And I try to get inside of the head of the judge and why he or she makes the decision they make. And I think their intentions are, we can help this person. We can rehabilitate him or her. And the truth is they're wrong about it. In so many cases, it's not a situation that you can correct. But it is always a situation where you can correct the law. And these laws need to be corrected. And if they're not, we're just going to see a rerun and a return of things that we saw here in New York, or whether it's in Seattle or Portland or LA, or you go ahead and pick your American town. It used to be a very safe community. And now you have to ask whether or not it is for your family and the people that you love.
The cases, the reasons behind these laws that have been eroded, Lisa, all stemmed from real life cases. The law on the books that says if you rape and murder a child under 14, then you can't get out on probation is because a child was murdered and raped under the age of 14 while her perp was out on probation. Every single one of these laws is there because of heartbreak of a family that went through something no family should ever have to go through again. So when they say the system is broken in Colorado, it is in part because of those feckless invertebrates on the left that have eroded those good laws that result then in these monsters running free. And by the way, one day he's going to pick up the wrong kid. and he's going to be shot dead lawfully by a parent protecting that kid.
Well, I think you have a couple of different things going on. One, you have the soft on crime policies that you noted. And then you also have a challenge with trying to institutionalize people who should be in mental institutions. And the Colorado sex offender who tried to kidnap the child, the issues with this person predated the 2024 amendment to Colorado's competency laws. His sister gave an interview to local news talking about the fact that her brother has been suffering with schizophrenia and bipolar for forever, that he had been in and out of jail for 12 years, that he had been deemed previously unfit to stand trial because of his mental health issues, that they've tried to institutionalize him. They were unable to because they weren't enough beds. And unfortunately, that's a challenge that we're seeing in a lot of places in the country with there not being enough beds to institutionalize people who should be there.
You know who that reminds me of?
A couple different things.
Sorry, you know who that reminds me of, Harris? Is the person that Daniel Penny protected the subway riders from.
Yeah.
He was known to law enforcement, known to the mental for years, and he fell through the cracks, and then he was...
Thank God Daniel Penny got involved in that and protected others on that subterranean car where nobody could get out and they were trapped with him. Thank God for that. And we didn't know which way that case would go. I want to talk about shock probation in particular, though, because I don't know how much time that judge has spent as a social worker, a police officer, anybody who comes into contact with people who are dangerous beyond any kind of rehabilitation. I don't know what his or her term has looked like. But shock probation means that you do part of the sentence so that you'll be shocked into not committing further crimes, and your sentence can be shortened. Now, if taking a life, if stabbing, if shooting, if stealing, what I call on-body crimes, you go in, you rob a store, you got a weapon, you'll use that weapon if you have to. You'll engage with that person if you have to, the victim. So that, to me, is like potentially like a carjacking. That's an on-body crime where it can go physical at any moment with the victim. In those types of situations, what gives the judge the benefit to say, oh, well, this person deserves a shorter sentence? They'll be shocked. If killing another human being doesn't shock you into how evil you have become and turn you into something else, how is going to prison? But particularly for a short period of time, to have your sentence shortened. Particularly for sex offenders, because a lot of times they're the first raped in prison. So now you're saying that you want to protect them. You want to shorten their sentences, what? In hopes that just the fear of that happening to them turns them around? Like, this is so broken. I agree with you. It's obviously broken, and it only benefits the criminal.
Yeah. No, and I was thinking what Lisa, exactly what you were talking about with the sister coming forward, and she wasn't defending her brother. Mm-hmm. She was like, I'm terrified of what he can do to other people and someone's going to do it. Someone's going to go, yep, we need a bed. We got to let this guy out because he's incompetent. So, we have to completely rethink our criminal justice system, and that I do think there's over-incarceration in this country. And that's, what's guiding judges like this. But the problem is we have identified the bad people. We have identified the recidivists. They're the ones who should be kept in prison. They're not the ones where you open the doors and say, you are rehabilitatable. Please go live your life and be a good member of society. They are not. They need to be taken out. And, the rest of the people who are nonviolent, who can be rehabilitated, that's where we have to rethink the criminal justice system. And then take that money and put it into some of these facilities where there are beds for people for whom incarceration would only be such a great disservice to them and to everyone else around them who need to be under psychiatric care. And we don't have resources allocated the right way.
Mm-hmm. Good point.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.